Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series where we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Well, today's chapters are Ezekiel 36 and 37. Now in these two chapters we have four images. That of mountains, that of sprinkling water, that of dry bones, and that of two sticks. So each of these images form a lesson that Ezekiel is giving the people. And the first is that of a mountain range. Now behind me is Mount Verd. If mountains could speak, they would have some stories to tell, wouldn't they? Through the areas where King Shaka was reigning supreme over here, to the development of those farms that are out there, they've got stories to tell. Now, the stories that the hills of Jerusalem were telling and Israel were telling were that babies were sacrificed there, idols were worshipped there. And this is what he's saying. He's basically saying there's going to come a day when the people are back, where it's going to flourish again, where there's going to be animals grazing there and plants growing. Now, since the formation of the nation of Israel in 1948, great progress has been made. It's like lit up like a garden. In fact, Isaiah said that. Isaiah said the hills of Israel are going to look like a garden, and they're beginning to look like that today. It's also a picture of Christians. You know, Christians, we've got these promises, and we live in dry and arid places where we run away from God. And God says, I want to light you up. I want to make you fruitful again. Well, the second picture is that of a washing of water. Now, the land had been guilty of all sorts of things and abusing the poor and profaning the name of the temple, God's name in the temple. And he's basically saying with this picture, he uses it about 4 or 5 times, there will be a sprinkling of water, a washing, a cleansing, a transformation, which illustrates what happens to a Christian, doesn't it? When you get saved, there is a sprinkling of your heart, a washing of your heart. There's this incredible verse in 26. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I'll remove from you a heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit in you and move you to follow my decrees. When a person gets saved, God literally gives you a new heart and gives you a willingness to follow him. That's a great promise over the new birth that's coming over believers. I know a lady who prayed this verse over her husband, who had told her, my heart has grown cold to you, kicked his wife out and his kids out. She prayed that verse, and one day he opened his Bible, and the Bible said in verse 36:26, I will remove your heart of stone, give your heart of flesh. And he says to her, in years gone after that, it's like I was born again. God gave me a new heart for you and for my children. God does this. He changes hearts. And then there's the story of the resurrection. God had already taken Ezekiel to Jerusalem in the spirit, to go to the banks of Babylon, the rivers of Babylon in the spirit. And now he takes him to a valley where fallen soldiers lay. And you know, it was a very bad thing for Jews not to be dealt with, their bodies buried. It was a disgrace to have your bones lying out in the veldt. And so he takes him, he sees this, and he has this question asked, can these bones live? And this is incredible. I've heard so many amazing testimonies speaking about the way God brings life into everything. He can breathe his word. His spirit breathes life into dead churches, dead marriages, dead businesses. Can these bones live? And he's told to prophesy, speak. And this word ruach, which is the Jewish word for wind, brings life into these bones. It's the same word, ruach, that Jesus used in John chapter 3 to say when the Spirit of God, the ruach of God, comes into somebody, makes them alive as you become a believer in Jesus. And then this final picture that he gives, you see, Israel was a united nation up until the time of Solomon. And then Solomon's son, very arrogant, it made some very bad decisions, and the nation was split in two. The northern kingdoms, the 12 tribes, 10 of them in the northern kingdom, and then 2 down south. And they lived like that as a divided nation. So Ezekiel then is told, get 2 sticks, and on one of the sticks write for Judah, and on the other stick write for Joseph. And then put them in your hands like this and make one stick and show them by this prophetic picture that I'm going to make one nation again. And then he says in almost the very last verse there, they're going to be ruled by one king, the Messiah, who's going to reign and rule over them. The nations coming back together again. And this is a promise not only for Israel coming back together, but God connecting Israel with the rest of his people, you and I, in his great, great family.